Very good morning. I'm Shilpa. Welcome you all to the NCERT live phone-in program. And our today's topic of discussion is writing the process approach. And to discuss this in the studio we have Professor Sandhya Sahoo, who is designated as the professor at the Department of Education in Languages in NCERT. I welcome you, ma'am, on today's show.
Thank you, Shilpa.
So let's proceed to understand our today's topic of discussion. Ma'am, before we proceed, we were getting so many questions concerning our today's topic, and they want to understand what exactly is writing and its importance.
Okay. So, good morning friends. It's a very important topic we are going to discuss today about the writing skill. As you all know that we have 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing. And we all know that for listening and speaking, and that is in effortlessly we pick up the language from the environment, and we acquire language, these 2 language skills. But when you come to reading and writing, we have to put a lot of effort for that. It's not effortless, it has to put up, we have to put efforts for that. So we call it a literacy skill. And for development of writing skill, it is both the teacher and the student, they have to work together towards it. So before going to this particular topic, I'd like to tell you that what writing is. Writing is when you express or when you communicate your ideas, your thoughts and your viewpoints through words, and writing in putting them in sentences and in paragraphs, and for putting up all this your viewpoints and your ideas and your thoughts, you always think about an audience, for whom you are writing. And if it is a story you are writing, the reader can be anybody. But if it is a report writing, you are writing for a certain audience. So whenever you write something, and always we think of an audience. Audience are the reader. Who is our reader? So we try to persuade the reader through writing. We try to inform them about the facts, and we try to give them some points, our points of view, if it is an argumentative writing. So there are different variety of writing also available, are available. And sometimes we write persuasive writings, then narratives we have, argumentative writings we have reports, we have we write emails also, notices, then letters. So variety of writings are there, but obviously we are writing with a purpose. So writing in that way, it is very important for us, because we communicate our feelings, our ideas, our we express our viewpoints. So it is very important, and we also want our reader to understand us through writing, what we want to say. So in that case, it is an important skill. And we can call it as a life skill also, because most of the work in classroom or in the world also, almost 30% work we are doing through writing. If it is so large, so we have to be very cautious, and we should know how to write. So that is why there are different strategies. We try to tell our students what strategies they should follow while writing piece of article or report or whatever they want to write. So it is important.
Right. Ma'am, before we just discuss about the strategies, can we understand this term process approach?
Writing as a process approach. That I'll explain. First we should understand how it is different from speaking. Because when you speaking is also communication. You are communicating your ideas through your speech, and we communicate our ideas through writing. So when we speak, what are the things that we do? So when we speak, we also use language while speaking. We also use words while speaking. We also use certain expressions while speaking. But when we speak, our facial gestures, then voice modulation, intonation, and then we change also our words. And for example, if I am teaching, if I see that my students do not understand, I change examples also. So depending on the audience and looking at them, I can change my explanation. I can change sentences. I can change words. But that is not that doesn't happen in writing. So in writing, when you write, you cannot change it, because the reader, it has already reached the reader. So whatever you write, so your choice of words have to be very, very like appropriate words we have to write. So we talk about appropriacy and accuracy in writing. We talk about choice of words in writing. We also use like when we speak, I use pause, I break, then I sometimes I try to express through my smiles, through my eyes. So when I'm angry, if I don't like certain things, I say ki. So the audience, I mean the person who is listening to me will understand that I don't want that kind. I mean, like I don't want him to behave like that. So there are many non-verbal communication also is added when we verbally communicate. And we also when you speak, we cannot revise also. So for example, I am speaking now. If I say something which is not relevant, immediately I cannot revise it, because already it has gone to my listeners. But in writing, the provision of revision is there, because I'm writing and I can revise, I can edit. So writing is a much more laborious process. And this writing has, we always use a standardized form while writing. And we express everything through language, through words, and we also punctuate when we write. So suppose because while speaking, I can raise my voice, I can put stress on words. I can also put if I want something to be so that this is important, I can say this is the thing. So through like my voice modulation, I can do that. But while writing, suppose there is some stress, I have to give some stress to whatever I am writing. I put comma, I put within inverted comma, and I put a parenthesis. Sometimes if I want to break, I want colon, I want semicolon. So that punctuation comes when we write. Okay. And writing needs more planning and organization. So how will you plan? So before writing, what should go into it? So when I come to process writing, I'll talk about it. And then we organize our thoughts. So you cannot say something like irrelevant or disjointed disjointed points. I cannot. If I'm writing something, it has to be it has to go logically, so that my readers will be able to understand. I will not confuse them. Sometimes when we read the writings of some people, say, what is he saying about? So why he is saying this? So there has to be readability, there has to be logicality, and for that you have to plan a lot. So organization and planning are very, very important while writing, and it should not be repetitive. Like while speaking, I can repeat. If I feel that my readers are not, I mean my listeners are not being able to follow me, not being able to understand. In the class also, when we teach, when we feel that students are not being able to understand, not being able to follow, not being they don't what I want to say is not it's not they are not clear about it. So I repeat it. But in writing, you cannot repeat. So it is a very, very laborious process. So in writing, one has to be very, very careful, because the process is involved, and process is very important for us. And to answer your questions, what is process writing? Process writing, we say that writing is not a one-time attempt. It is not like that. For writing a good piece of writing, we have to, it involves thinking, it involves planning, it involves pre-writing, drafting, editing, and then the final draft comes. So writing is not just one end product. It goes through a process. So that is, we call it process writing.
Right.
So we should all know while writing before writing a piece of article or a passage, we should know what are the processes involved.
Right.
So this is called process writing, because all the processes that I talked about, that you have to think, you have to plan, you have to jot down the points, you have to organize your thoughts, you have to write your first draft, then revise, then edit. So all these things are involved in writing process. That is why we called the topic today is writing the process approach.
Okay. So ma'am, let's move forward and let's understand about the strategies. You were talking about several strategies, though you have mentioned few, but any particular strategies?
No, there are no particular strategies. I told you about all the strategies that I talked about. They are required for writing, for a good piece of writing.
Okay.
So first is that pre-writing. So first comes pre-writing. Suppose I have given a topic on child labor. Suppose I have given a topic on global warming. So what could be the pre-writing activities? So you can see in this slide that pre-writing activity is selecting a topic and planning what to say. So I have to select a topic, and if it is in the classroom, because we are talking about classroom processes also. So suppose that students are there and you as a teacher have given them to write on global warming. So what will be my activities in the class? Okay, what could be my strategies? So I will give them a topic, this topic, and ask the students to brainstorm it. What they know about global warming? Do they feel very cold in winter? Do they feel very hot in summer, which is unusual? Okay, and what do they say in the surrounding during summer seasons? Because they say that now the temperature is rising and rising. Sometimes it's 45, 48, 49. Why this thing is happening? And they can also see how this the rivers are dried up. So there are many things they can observe, and they can come to the class, and they can read certain things also. Why global warming is happening? Why we call it global warming? What is the reason behind it? So they will discuss on it. So there will be a brainstorming session on that, and for that we have to divide the class into groups. Okay. Some children are very good in collecting data. Some children are very good in writing. Some children are very good in interpreting the data also, the information, and some children are very good in putting all these things in points. Okay, and then they will also think about the audience. Who is going to read there? So audience is their own their peers or the teacher, and sometimes they can also put it on their school notice board, or there is certain writing notice board where they put all their writings, or for the classroom writing board also they can put all these things. So the audience is fixed. So they know that for them they are going to write. So if they are going to write for them, so they have to also looking at the word structure. What are the words that will go along with this topic? So we call it registers. They have to find out that these words are suitable for this kind of topics. So word choice is very important. They can also debate on it. They can also plan how to write. So in the pre-writing strategy, so these are the things involved, and teacher has to monitor it. Teacher has to tell the students, now you discuss on this, now you plan how to write. Then they will also, since they are discussing, they will get ideas. They will also get some kind of points of view also. Some people will talk against it, some people will talk for it. So they will have to jot down all the points. And this for this, why I am saying process is important, because here the children are participating. Teacher is only facilitating. Teacher will tell them that this is the topic and you have to go about it like. There some guidance teacher can give, but ultimately the students who will do it. So in process approach, it is the learner center approach. Learners are participating, learners are discussing, and they are also bringing out the points, and they will also start writing. So that is your pre-writing task. And then the second strategy that we talked about is like drafting. The second strategy, drafting. Drafting is like, now you talked about audience, we talked about variety of resources.
Right.
Now when you are planning to write, you have to prepare a draft, okay, and that is the first draft. So when the first draft is the children are writing all that, the teacher should not say, no, you have this is wrong, this is right. Let the children write on their own. Okay. Let them express. That freedom should be given to the students. Then let them express. There will be errors, but errors are the indicators of learning.
Right.
So if errors are indicators of learning, if they are, this is a free thinking has gone into it, now they are getting freedom to write. So now when they start writing, there will be many errors. Let us ignore the errors first and let us ask them to write it.
Okay.
Because they will be, whatever they have discussed, they are putting them into in one place and writing. They will introduce, they will first they will organize their thoughts, and then they will organize their ideas. They will focus on the topic, because focus is very important. They should not go, if they are going beyond the focus, here the teacher can bring them back. So that is the role of the teacher,
Okay.
that you have to bring them back. Otherwise they will be thinking many things, and they can go either here and there will be not a focused writing. We always say writing with a purpose. The purpose is global warming. So they should not go beyond it. And they can also talk about what are the children's voices should also be heard while writing, because they are the people who are experiencing, they are the people who are sharing ideas, they are the individuals who have discussed on this, and they have also found out what are the words to go into it. So now all these things they will write in sentences, in connected sentences. So how will they introduce, that they will write. Then how, after introduction, what will be going into the text, I mean the body of the the write-up. Okay. So in that body of the write-up, whatever the points they have discussed in the introduction, so that those things they will gradually, point wise, one by one, paragraph wise, they will write all that.
Okay.
And then they will come to the conclusion. So here we talk about appropriacy also. Appropriacy means appropriate words they will use. They will try to use sentences, and here accuracy is also. They will try to write accurate sentences, because if it is grammatically, if the words are not properly arranged, if they are not grammatically correct, so obviously the sense and the meaning will not come. So instead of putting your things and making the readers understand you, rather you will confuse them. So that in that part also the teacher can guide them. So there is, as I told you, the variety of writings. Maybe they are writing this for the notice board, for the school magazine, for the newspapers, class newspaper or school newspaper, reports. They can write notices. There are variety of writings one can have, for a particular topic. And then they can be persuasive writing also. They can write. Suppose they want their readers to understand that these are the reasons for global warming, and if you are to eradicate or to bring to stop to this global warming, or to bring a change in the environment, what all can be done. So with some examples, with some kind of, I mean, what are their thoughts and all, so they can put those things to persuade them that they have to do this, persuasive writing. And the third strategy we talked about is the revising, the drafting, and now they will revise. At this point of time, this revising point of time, here we talk about you can read. Suppose I have written certain things. When I read again, then I feel that no, I should not write like this, I should write like this. So I can rearrange my thoughts. Right. I can rearrange the sentences. So this is, if I read 2-3 times, I know that this is, like sometimes I feel that no, this is not correct, and that will be correct. So gradually I think a lot when I am revising. So because there is self-revision can go, we can revise itself. and then we can also, we call it self evaluation, and we can also go for peer evaluation. Peer evaluation is that you give these things to your students, I mean to your friends. Suppose because we are working in groups, and because we are promoting collaborative learning, we are promoting cooperative learning, they are sharing ideas and they learn from each other also, they discuss also. So they can also, from one group can give their writing to the other group, and the other group can look at it, they also revise it, they can also guide them ki no, this idea is not clarified, so you explain it better. Or use some other examples. They can also say that you can refine your sentences, refine your language. They can also talk about this punctuation marks also. If there is any change required, they can also give. So the peer correction is going on. And then third is that if if still they want some adults interference or adults intervention, they can talk to the teachers. The teachers can also evaluate. So while revising, you can have your self vision, and many a time, like you can revise 2-3 times also. I'll give you one example here that I had gone to Stratford and Stratford upon Avon just to see Shakespeare's plays and what, I mean, about his life and all. I wanted to see how he lived and all that. So there I found that in Shakespeare is the greatest writer, is dramatist, but he has not written his dramas in one go. He has also revised 6-7 times, and all those handwritten revised things are there preserved. Okay, so it is not that if you revise and re-revise and re-revise, it is that means you are not good in writing. Rather, you are improving yourself. So with that, the editing also is there. So where there is a punctuation mark is required, where there is a hyphen is required, where there is a choice of word is required, ordering is required. So in editing, you do that, and then it has to be readable. The most important part is that when you are writing, it should be readable. If it is logically connected, if it is the flow is there, then readers will read. If it is not connected, and the readers will feel bored. So for that, readability is also required, and that in the revising and editing, this readability part comes in that list. Okay, and then when you prepare the final draft, no draft is final. So when suppose I have written something, so this is my final draft, then again I will start reading, I feel like revising it. So it is not, no writing is final. And when you are connecting paragraphs and all, we also use linkers. For example, therefore, so that, and then we also say although, though. There are many linkers you can use in order to make it a connected speech.
Okay. So ma'am, here we will take a question from Chandralal. He wants to understand, just because many of our students have weak writing skills does not mean they have nothing to say, but teachers ignore.
Let's say when we talk about writing is an integrated skill. I mean, we talk about integrated skill. It is not only writing. Before writing, there are many things happen. You listen, you learn the language, you speak. Okay, listening and speaking is there, and then when you discuss also, the spoken language is used, and you try to jot down points when you are discussing, when there is a brainstorm, when there is a debate, when there is an argument. Okay, and when you are reading certain things, so before writing you also read a lot. So to get the information, you go to net, you read and you make your own notes, note taking, you do that. You take discuss, you can talk to your seniors, you talk to the teachers. So there are many things happen. So listening, speaking, reading is also there, and then it comes to writing. So if you have ideas, then how to put forth these ideas, so that is for that this process writing is required. But before that, many things, many I mean like all the three skills that I talked about, they are required. Until unless you have ideas, until unless you have content, you cannot write. So children are not being able to write because they don't have the content. You know, to provide the content, all these things are required, what I spoke about.
Right, ma'am. Let's take a few more questions, ma'am. I'll take the two questions. What makes an effective piece of writing by Ridhima? And the second question is, what do successful writers do, by Rao Mishra?
Okay. So this is again a very two good questions. Like Chandra Lal, he talked about those weak children and all. So this is also a good question. These two questions are good because what makes a good writer? So again, I'll go back to the process writing. Okay. So already we talked about, already we have talked about the purpose of writing. Writing is always with a purpose. Okay. It has to be a focused writing. And to become a good writer or to have an effective piece of writing, we always think of an audience first. Audience is that I already told you whether it's a persuasive writing you are making, or you are a factual writing, or you are writing a notice, or you are writing a report for the magazine. All so these are all. I mean these writings, they have to. I mean the audience, they will have to keep in mind. They will also keep in mind that they should not deviate from the main purpose of writing. The focused writing has to be there. The third thing is that they should spend a considerable time in planning, because that I talked about brainstorming and all that. So they have to plan that what they have to write. They have to note down that these are the things that I have to write. These are the points I have to write when I am preparing a piece of writing. Then you can also talk about reliable sources, because when you are writing, you have to get the information from which source you are getting. It has to be a reliable source. It has to be an authentic source. So I'll recommend them to read a book on a book by Professor M.L. Tikku. He has written a book on teaching and learning of English, and there also very clearly he has defined. I mean he has noted down. He has given all the points, like what is effective writing. The fourth point he talked about is that these ideas that we are giving, that should flow smoothly. I talked about logicality, I talked about readability. So logicality and readability are important for the smooth flow in writing. And then the other thing is that for good writing, you should get the feedback. So feedback I talked about, like when you read, you are reading on your own, you are looking at your own writing, and you feel like revising it. And you revise and re-revise, edit and re-edit. Okay. In the same way, you give to your peers, to your friends, or your teachers, or whom you want them to read your and give their feedback. So the feedback will also help them to improve their writing. And the other thing for improving to be a good writer, it is very important that you should pay attention to the choice of words. Because if I am talking about global warming, so all the words related to global warming should be there, which will with which I will express myself, my ideas, my views, or if you want to give my own opinion. So those things will be done through the choice of words. So words are very, very important, and we must also revise our writing from the point of view of accuracy and appropriacy. So if these things are followed, then we will be able to write a good piece of good piece. So that is the tips I can give for effective writing.
So ma'am, in the end, would you like to give more tips to our students or teacher concerning the writing?
What I want to conclude with a saying from Francis Bacon. Bacon says that I talked about integrated approach to teaching and learning. So for writing also we have integrated approach. You have to listen, you have to speak, and you have to read, and then you have to write. And Francis Bacon, and I always quote him. He says that reading makes you a full man, and conference or speech or discussion, they make you a ready man. But writing makes you an exact man. So, so in order to be understood, you should through your writing should be forceful. Your writing should be good. Your writing should be readable, and your writing should have a flow.
So today we understood about the writing and the process of writing. So if you have any question related to our today's episode, then you can send on our email ID, or maybe you can just call on our toll-free number. Till then, take care and keep watching Kishore Manch.
Thank you.